Denmark still have the world's best time for this particular boat class, which goes back to Lucerne in 1999. And just having a look at this, was there an empty lane there? I need to check on this. We are, of course, 2,000 metres away. Now, have a look at that. That's lane 1. Where's lane 2? It should be China 2, or should be China. Well, hang on, that's China.
Yes, they're there.
Oh, they are there.
Nothing wrong with that. I think they may have been a little bit late.
I think they were lagged off, yes. They were not quite. They're just coming in now. There was a large gap, and I was thinking, what's happened to China?
They maybe did a practice start just a little bit late, but they're now on lane and in position. They could, if they're late on the start, according to the umpire's reckoning, he will find them a full start then. And they are then at risk that if they do a full start, a real full start, they're out. You don't get, it's 2 strikes and out.
Well, it would have been a big shock if they hadn't taken part because they're the world champions. Great Britain, storming performance in the semi-finals. That's why they're in lane number 3. One of the best lightweight 4 performances in British lightweight history so far. Italy in lane number 4, and the second of their crews in lane number 5, and they're packed with talent. These men have got something like 19 World Championship gold medals amongst them. It's incredible.
Sculling and rowing, and rowing on this side and rowing on that side, they can do everything. Basilini, Pettinari, all scullers.
And Basilini, we'll talk about him later. He's been dying to get into an Olympic boat for a long time. The United States are closest to you in lane number 6, with Tom Paradiso in the stroke seat. We're talking about stars of the sport. Here's Gilardoni, who's in the bow of the Italian second crew, as they've nominated it, in lane number 5.
It's a slightly false ranking, this, because it's actually on the number of gold medals you've accumulated. And we saw Steve Williams, who would hammer Gilardoni on any sort of one-on-one test, ranked 5th.
Yeah.
And Gilardoni, because he's been around for a long time and accumulating medals, as has Bruno Mascarenhas and various other people in this race, is somehow ranked above him. But it's not the whole story.
Well, China are the world champions, and in the last race, the world champions from China were in lane 2, and it didn't work. Will it work this time? And if you remember, last year, this was a very aggressive Chinese crew. That's as good an even start as you can possibly get. And again, the Chinese had 2 crews side by side. The Italians are side by side here, and it is Italy 1 with Bruno Mascarenhas in the stroke seat, picking up the rhythm. Salvatore Amitrano, and then Amaranti Catello, and Yuri Vilcek is the man in the bow for Italy number 1, coming out of lane number 4. And they've just about got the advantage, I say, Hugh, but very close to them are both Great Britain and China.
Indeed, those 3 really inseparable in a row across the course. And nobody in the Italian crew will be crowing that they've got into the lead and they're safe, because they're nothing like safe. Great Britain actually moving rather more sweetly and come up there in about 4 strokes from a man down to a man up.
Well, take us through that British crew, Hugh. James Clark?
James Clark in the stroke seat, that's to the left of the picture. They're difficult to see now because they're sandwiched between Italy 1 and China. But James Clark, then Paul Mattick in 3, James Lindsay Finn in 2, and Richard Chambers. Now, this is a relatively new, I mean, none of these things, they're all squad members, but this is Robin Williams' best shot at a sweep medal for lightweight men. And there they are, next to the world champions, and looking in very good shape. Now, we've been trying to do this for years up to now with much the same people, and it's not worked at all. So Robin has found a little secret about lightweight training. He's an ex-lightweight himself. He was in a very fast London Rowing Club 20 years ago, and it's coming home to roost, all that years of skill. And his time as a coach at Cambridge has honed his coaching skills, and it's beginning to emerge in some lightweight wisdom as well. They've slipped back a bit now, and we're, I think, third behind Italy, with China well out in the front. That's them in picture now. James Clark closest to the camera in the stroke seat.
Once again, we're seeing the aggression of Tian Yun in the stroke seat for China, with Zhang Lin, Wu Shongqi and Huang Zhongming. And that quartet, if you go back to Eton, the desire, the hunger in Eton to win that world title was evident right the way through the course, and were they happy that they pulled that off. And now, having got there, you sense that that's a crew that really wants to, stay as the #1 crew in the world now.
And the Italians have got something to say about it, because they've now got a good quarter length on them, having moved right up in this second 500, and they're coming up to 1,000 metres now, and it's Italy first, China second, Great Britain third, and down in lane 6 the USA in 4th position. Fairly close attendance.
It's interesting because we always regard the Italians as having a very strong lightweight complement and really being a challenge. But if you go back down the years, you've got to go back to 1995 in Tampere, the last time that Italy actually won the world title in the men's lightweight fours. Between then and now, Denmark have dominated, with occasional visits by the likes of France and Austria, and most recently, of course, China.
Indeed. Italy has got a very strong squad. They've concentrated on other boats. They've been, the Pettinaris, the Basolinis of this world, they've all been in double sculls. Luini and Pettinari, great double sculls. So they move people around and look for combinations, and every now and again it comes up. They don't always necessarily win.
Basolini won't be happy. Basolini's in the other boat.
He's in the wrong boat.
He's in the wrong boat.
Basolini and Pettinari, the stern pair of the wrong boat in this sense. This is another great race developing, because here we have China has now come back onto very nearly level terms with Italy 1, and the meat and the sandwiches, you keep calling them, the Great Britain crew, never more than a couple of feet out of it, and what it must be like being in that race as they stretch out, not big margins, but as they stretch out against a really quality field in places 4, 5 and 6. They come to 1,500 metres in roughly the same separation as they were. I gave that to Italy, but only just.
Yeah, decent effort by the Dutch on the far side. Italy's second quartet, leaving the Americans down in 6th place, but this is absolutely all to play for. Last 500 metres now, and the Chinese being asked a really tough question here. And the last year's silver and bronze medalists, both the Irish and the French, failing to qualify, and these are tougher questions that were posed to the Chinese a year ago, or almost a year ago, and they're looking concerned.
Certainly are, but they're back in front, so it's absolutely nip and tuck. I think it's going to be, my guess, and I haven't a clue, it's 270 metres to go. China appear to have got the upper hand, but the lead must have changed 4 times, 5 times in this race. Great Britain slipping back now. They're a canvas adrift, having been 2 or 3 feet adrift all the way through. Maybe they can make a change of pace, but it's
got to come now.
You call it, David. I can't see it.
If it's going to come, it's going to come now. But it is China at the moment who've got the edge from Italy. Great Britain, Holland trying to close up on the far side, but at the moment they're looking probably best for 4th than anything else. And China striding away now. They've got the best of this. Italy in 2nd place. Great Britain being challenged for 3rd spot there by the Dutchmen. I think they're going to get the 3rd spot. And the world champions, China, this time from lane 2, take the victory ahead of Italy. Great Britain, then on the far side, Holland, and Italy 2 ahead of the United States. That's the way the 6 crews finished. That wasn't easy.
Less than 3 seconds between 1st to 6th at 1,500 metres, and we'll see